believe as you're speaking and I'm listening to you both, you have done for St. Anne through electrical engineering what Good Stewart has done for Jamaica in tourism and hospitality. And I believe you're being very modest in terms of the contribution that you've made. But I also know that there are many, many graduates of universities in this parish whose parents worked with R.O. Walters and Associates. And one thing I know, when they tell the Good Stewart story, they talk about the house that Butch built and how he serviced those air conditioning units and he would change a light bulb. I happen to know, having known you since I was a child, that you were very hands-on in terms of the quality of the service that you deliver. So service quality is really just so very, very important as we look at moving this parish forward. R.O. Walters and Associates is one of St. Anne's well-established businesses. Recognized as a cornerstone beacon and well-respected enterprise in the community, in 2009, the limited liability company was honored by the St. Anne Chamber of Commerce with a corporate award at the Chamber's annual awards banquet. The business is owned by a couple known for their public spiritedness and commitment to excellent standards. Their participation in the social and the civic life of the parish as they incorporate social responsibility has earned them the admiration of their peers. The Honorable Radcliffe Walters and his wife, Norma Walters, are the principal officers of the licensed electrical and pole line company. One of their most endearing and impactful projects beside their business has been their involvement in initiating and leading the 17-year-old voluntary organization, the St. Anne Homecoming Heritage Foundation, SHHF. The SHHF was created in 2003 to showcase trailblazers and ultimately the best of St. Anne. After all, the Walters firmly believe that community leaders are responsible to influence positive change within their society. The foundation has guaranteed an annual scholarship for a student of the Marcus Garvey Technical High School. Mr. Walters was the Custos Rotulorum of St. Anne from 1999 to 2013. Over those 15 years, he was able to balance his civic obligations while still helping to lead his business. His wife, who received the Chamber's Citizens Award in 1977, and their son, Stanford Walters, a licensed electrician and a graduate of the University of Technology with diplomas in electrical technology, joined forces as a strong and formidable team to make the business a true family venture. Mr. Walters had taken the initiative in 1972 to incorporate and officially operate the business. It was a bold move at a time when many Jamaicans were not going into business, especially one based on the specialized skills of electrical installation. Mr. Walters, who had started learning the trade as an apprentice, made the big transition into private enterprise from a secure job with an international company, Reynolds Bauxite Mines. It was not easy, but his determination helped to build a solid base for the effective operation over these 48 years. In those early years, the company was able to pre-qualify and has been able to secure contracts from some big companies such as the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited, JPSCO, and Lime or Flow, formerly Cable and Wireless Jamaica, the Rural Electrification Program, and many government and private sector entities over the years. With added patronage from faithful customers and clientele from smaller commercial groups to meet and facilitate their domestic and residential service needs, the firm has remained viable. The assets of the business were increased with the purchase of the property, which has been rented for the startup years. The building on Main Street has been expanded and offers services from retail cooking gas delivery to sale of small electrical items. 54 Main Street, St. Anne's Bay, is the main hub from which the many electrical installations, cable and pole line services, and telecommunications installations teams are dispatched. The company also offers plumbing, electrical installations, and maintenance. As an apprentice with Hunter Brothers, a local engineering firm, Mr. Walters began his professional education with the theoretical training through correspondence courses.
He was further able to hone his skills by working part-time, early mornings and evening after work, with a number of his friends and colleagues. He was able to secure his electrician's license at a time when only 7 such persons worked in the parish. He also began upgrading himself professionally at the College of Arts, Science and Technology, now the University of Technology, in the area of electrical technology on a part-time basis through the college's day release program. He was offered a USAID scholarship to Alfred State College in the United States of America, where he pursued a course in electrical technology for 15 months. The highlight of his sojourn was a 6-week maintenance internship at the Pentagon in Washington. On his return home to Jamaica, he joined Reynolds Jamaica Mines as an electrician. While at Reynolds, again, many of his previous clients approached him and he resumed his part-time service. In 1966, Mr. Walters became an independent electrical contractor, but it was not until 1972 that he registered the company with the Companies Office of Jamaica and became managing director as a full-time entrepreneur. If you are going to do a good job, it must be one which you enjoy, states Mr. Walters. His affiliations include the Junior Chamber, St. Anne JCs, past president of the Rotary Club of Ocho Rios, past master of the Masonic Lodge Seville, to name a few. He has held many leadership positions in academia, sports, library services, education, and the church. As a man whose forte is to build loyalty with friends and his clientele, he has steered the company to achieve a proud record for the longevity of the relationship, also with staff. R.O. Walters and Associates Limited has earned the reputation of caring for their employees and are always looking out for their welfare and best interest. The couple got married in 1975 and his wife Norma, who joined the business in 1980, has been keeping a firm hand on the day-to-day internal operations, having invested her firm background in human resources management in the business. Mrs. Walters, now the Honorable Custodes Norma Walters, who is a graduate of the St. Andrew High School for Girls, holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Economics and History from the University of the West Indies. She joined the business formally as the administrative manager, having worked as a civil servant and incorporating her expertise from executive positions in the hotel and tourism industry. A former president of the St. Anne Chamber of Commerce and the St. Anne Cooperative Credit Union Limited, now the First Regional Cooperative Credit Union Limited, she was able to diversify her network and her involvement in many projects and programs for economic and financial stability, as well as upward social mobility. She praises her husband for his strength of character and focus in tough times and for growing the business. She says, they have never reneged on their obligations and continue to adhere to the strong financial standards set by their bankers. The business has provided employment and training for many individuals, and the company is counted among the pioneers for the SL Tops School Leavers program of the Heart NTA. Currently, 12 employees have permanent tenure. This core includes skilled electricians, electrical technicians, laborers, and administrative personnel. A cadre of contractors and subcontractors are retained for short-term projects. Many of their employees, past and present, have been able to capitalize on the skills and principles learned for self-reliance or to add value to their enterprises and families. Many of these employees are and have been able to secure their homes, to access stable bank accounts, and to educate their children up to the tertiary level while they worked at R.O. Walters and Associates Limited. To date, approximately 10 employees have been the beneficiaries of programs of the National Housing Trust and the National Insurance Scheme and have been able to access other private and public sector facilities. Others are the proud owners of land and are in the process of building. Over the years, the company has partnered with the Pension Administrative Services, the Employees Benefit Administrators Limited of Sagicor, Jamaica, to secure this service for the permanent staff. In 1994, the firm led the way in computerizing its point-of-sale platform. Over the years, the company has provided training and development in computer science, secretarial and administrative procedures, pole line, telephone, and cabling techniques. Employees have been sponsored to attend workshops in liquid petroleum cooking gas service delivery, preventative disaster management preparedness, and supervisory management. In the early development of the company, training of apprentices was an integral part of the company's profile, as these skills were not readily available in rural Jamaica. To provide a reliable and world-class service to their clientele, contacts have ranged across all professionals, including engineers, architects, and financial experts. Their son, Stanford Walters, as a supervisor of the electrical department, is an integral part of the management structure. Their daughter, Nelia Walters, is a licensed electrical engineer and, although employed in that capacity at the Urban Development Corporation, is available for consultancy. Mrs. Walters said that this is important for entrepreneurs to nurture their children's interest and propensity for risk assessment and strategic decision making. The younger generation should be taught the intricacies of the operations of a family business. This deliberate approach is invaluable in sustaining and enhancing the stability, succession planning, and continuity of the business. Indeed, it provides a vital boost for the fledgling entrepreneurial spirit. Mrs. Walters is incumbent Custodes Radcliffe of the parish of St. Anne, having succeeded her husband in an unprecedented and historic appointment in 2013. She remains employed to the firm, and her loyalty and drive for its success knows no bounds. She attributes her success to adherence to a strict schedule and a supportive community family. The Walters are truly humbled by the opportunities afforded them also to supervise the justices of the peace of the parish and to serve the marginalized, challenged, and underprivileged. The information on the laws of Jamaica gleaned from their roles as Chief Justices of the Peace have also been invaluable to the sustainable operation of their enterprise. Strong work ethics and a lifestyle of discipline, honesty, and integrity are the hallmarks of the Walters' business acumen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another interview in our series on Conversations with Collette. Today, I have the distinct pleasure and privilege to speak with Custodes Norma Walters and her husband, former Custodes Radcliffe Walters. It is often said that behind every successful man, there is a strong woman. I'm sure Custodes Radcliffe Walters will not mind this afternoon if I say beside this very successful man is an equally successful woman.
You're perfectly right.
Thank you, sir. Custodes, thank you so much for granting us this interview today. Custodes Walters, Norma Walters, is a Custodes for the parish of St. Anne. I'm going to be jumping now right into the interview. Sir, Madame, we are aware of the extensive work that you have done in fostering unity, civic pride, and development in our beautiful garden parish of St. Anne. Yet the culture of unity and civility, for which this parish of St. Anne is known globally, can be threatened by forces that are both internal and migratory or external, coming in for economic opportunities and social interactions. Custodes Walters, as we reflect on your role and the role of Custodes Radcliffe Walters before you, we would love for you to share with our viewers your vision for St. Anne, an overview of how community development can be enhanced, even as we face the realities of this global pandemic and attempts to rebuild the civility and unity for which St. Anne has been long known. We would appreciate if you would share your perspectives on where we currently are and the potential we have to create the community we desire. The topic on which you'll be interviewed today is building stronger communities through citizens' involvement. We would appreciate if you would include the following in your responses. 1. How have you contributed to building a stronger St. Anne community, both from your roles as entrepreneurs and more recently as custodes for this parish? 2. The changes, positive and negative, that you have observed in the parish of St. Anne over the last decade or two. And 3. How public and private sector leaders can engage and motivate the citizens of St. Anne to build a stronger community in terms of economic activities, infrastructure, social, civic, health, academic institutions, and the environment. Segment 1. We're now looking at the introduction and your antecedent. Can you please tell us a little bit about the work that you have done and still do in community development and empowerment? First, from your roles as entrepreneurs through R.O. Walters and Associates. And as I was just sharing with Custodes and Mrs. Walters, R.O. Walters and Associates is an institution that I have known as a child growing up in St. Anne. As I traveled from my home at 50 Main Street to my father's business place at 64 Main Street in St. Anne's Bay as a child, I remember this society would call Power Couple that were in charge of this great organization that was really like a college for electrical engineers in St. Anne's Bay. And I remember Mrs. Walters. She is a Proverbs 31 woman. She was, for us as young women growing up in St. Anne, the role model, the ideal person that we wanted to grow up to be. So my question to you today, Mrs. Walters, is, can you share with us some of the work that you have done in empowerment and community development, both from your roles as entrepreneurs and then as custodes of the parish?
Well, Dr. Smith, I just want to thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And we are so very proud and pleased of you as a daughter of this parish. We recognize how important the citizens of St. Anne take their parish, and we are indeed very humbled to have been afforded this opportunity to rise to the position of what is called the first citizens of this parish for over 20 years now. And we are very, very humbled by your asking us to do this interview. I, as you've seen from the profile, was a person who came with my husband by marriage. And looking back over the past 45 years, I did not make a mistake. I have said that it was a spiritual journey as well, because unbeknownst to most of our friends and colleagues, certainly family does know, my mother is from Outares, and I'm the last of 4 children. So the spiritual journey has been a return of my life to her parish. When she died when I was 6, and she would have had no vision that she would have got back this benefit. But she was such a woman of God, herself and her family and my grandparents. And so we've had no other choice but to walk in those wonderful shoes. And so my background, certainly as a community person, has been spawned by great family life. A love that came from as early as that to say that as children, there were 4 of us, we could be anything we wanted to be. Our grandfather, especially on the paternal side, who loved us endlessly. We took family seriously, as I said, so when we got married, there was no choice that I would have lived in Spanish Town and lived away from my family. I know that unions will not survive a distance in that regard. So here I am. I came, there are many twists and turns. Eventually I joined R.O. Walters in 1980, benefiting from a lot of other involvements that I had. By then I had also become a mother, so we knew it took the community to help me with my young family and the support of my husband, who understood that I did not want to be a housewife per se. And motherhood transcends wherever you are.
Yes.
So I got into the business, where I became an administrative person. I was very pleased. My background is the public service. I was among the first cadets, administrative cadets for the Ministry of Public Service in the day, having worked with the classification and pay. I'd gone to Canada to to get some insight into their compensation packages. So we instituted classification in the public service, and I came here. I taught for a while at Marcus Garvey Technical, and then I worked in the hotel sector. I became the regional director for tourism product development. So a lot of initiative took me out of my own quiet comfort zone. I was not yet 30. And so I, with the support of good family, went into the business, learned it well, saw the responsibility, and said to him, how does a black man become a businessman in Jamaica? Because the perspective we were having from the South Coast is that this is reserved for other echelons of the society. And he will tell his own story. And that in itself is a lesson, how you run your business, how you get at all levels, behind the cash register, as a person, not quite under the truck yet, but I understood the demands, because the polite part of the business, you know, has trucking, and so does the other electrical thing. And just being a homemaker, keeping in touch with family all around. They were really on the in Kingston, on the South Coast in Spanish Town, keeping that link. And I've never been afraid to even drive myself over those hills in those days, was on the highway anymore, and taking it in many respects by myself when we had to go and visit if we had. So it has been a just broadening and a love for country, because what you saw on the South Coast was different from what the North Coast was doing. And I've often said, as I finish this segment, at the University of West Indies, I have a degree in economics and history, and Dr. Trevor Monroe, I know he won't mind my saying so, was our lecturer in economics, and constantly the saying was that tourism is fickle. I came as personnel manager to what is now the Moon Palace, which was the Intercontinental Hotels Corporation. Another big impact on my life to work with an international corporation. And I saw Jamaicans living off the industry that the South Coast thought had no part and parcel. I saw them send their children to high schools, to prep schools. I saw their investment in their vehicles. I saw housemaids, their homes over there in Great Pond, where they would take persons to be in their proud homes. And it was so empowering. For me, the parish is also mainly tourism. But I will stop at this point, and then I will allow Custodes Rocky to say something, and we'll get back to where I'm leaving off.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'm really from the outskirts of St. Anne's. I'm from Higgintown, elementary school at Bridgeton Bay. Come up through the apprenticeship system. Leaving school, came to an engineering firm that was in St. Anne's Bay, Hunter Brothers, that was on Bradford Street. And there I got started. We get all the practical work here, but for theory, you know, you have to help yourself. And so I got my early theory training through correspondence course, Bennett College, and ICCS in America. But some of the old fathers of St. Anne's Bay, Dr. Jacobs and Mr. Scott, you know, my company used to work for them. They would always say for a community to really develop and strive, it must be self-sufficient. Really that live with me until this day. So I started there as an apprentice, moved through the hunters when they left after they got independence, and they moved out from Canada. Then things opened up, so I could start to grow the business into electrical contracting business. So from there, that's where that started, and I worked way up. Now, I'm coming up under the apprenticeship system, and it worked for me. I realized that the thing to do is to continue it. I put somebody's shoulder, one Mr. Little, who was our supervisor here, and then I just continued from where Hunter Brothers left off, and took over a number of their customers, and started to service them, and to grow the business. As opportunity arises, we grasp the opportunity and grow. And I'm very pleased with the number of apprentices who have passed through my organization all over in Canada and United States. Some have gone on to university, they have done very well. And whenever they come back to Jamaica, they come and visit with me. It is really self-satisfying. And I recall when Mr. Hunter came back from Canada for holidays, he said, "I'm called me, I went to visit with him." I was now invited to sit in the living room with him and all that sort of thing. Coming up those days, you know, that is beyond me. That was unheard of. But then, you know, that got the encouragement to keep moving from there.
Wonderful. You know, I believe as you're speaking and I'm listening to you both, you have done for St. Anne through electrical engineering what Good Stewart has done for Jamaica in tourism and hospitality. And I believe you're being very modest in terms of the contribution that you've made. But I also know that there are many, many graduates of universities in this parish whose parents worked with R.O. Walters and Associates. And one thing I know, when they tell the Good Stewart story, they talk about the house that Butch built and how he serviced those air conditioning units and he would change a light bulb. I happen to know, having known you since I was a child, that you were very hands-on in terms of the quality of the service that you deliver. So service quality is really just so very, very important as we look at moving this parish forward.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Just to follow up on what you said about service. My company that I learned training, they were not about giving out signs and big advertisement. My boss said your advertisement is word of mouth. Once you have a satisfied customer, it will grow. So give a good job, no shoddy work, and your name good. People call you, you don't even know them, and then you say, I was called by, I was referred to by so and so. So service is the key factor.
Wonderful. I'm going to tell you a little bit about family because I also happen to know that your children are integrally involved in this particular area. So can you share with us about your children as well, please?
Sure. Stanford, our son, is a member, he's now the supervisor and manager of the business, especially during this COVID time, where at our age we are told that we're the coward home at a young age. And we are so blessed because it's very important when you build a family business, and that's what we've taken pride in doing, that we encourage them to go from there pretty young. So growing up, after school, it was a place for them to assemble. They would come, I would be there, they would do their homework, we'd supervise it, and the other things, domestic matters, couldn't be done at home. But they certainly would look forward to coming from Columbus, walking down the road, and I was actually berated for not picking them up, but in the days, it was so simple and so important that they learned that they could, you know, come down on their own, little independence, because we dropped them certainly at school. But one of the things for family was just our blood. They themselves saw how we mentored our workers, that we gave them the respect that was due to them. Some of them now still, having known our sons Stanford and Nelia as children, now see them rise and they give the respect because they now understand that we pay the bills, we pay the wages, and they get paid firstly. What impacted me more than anything else, and we've had good people, we've had good staff, administratively, technically, many of them have been seen us try to put even our lives together as family, got married under our watch, told us about their progress. I remember when we moved from just paying them on the property, because the bank advised us that once we took payroll, it's our money. And so they asked us to register them so they would get their own pay packages at the bank, which we thought was so empowering because they would be able to leave something and to begin to have some saving and semblance of their own financial management. And before that, we would see the children come to their father's bidding. It was men outsiders, laborers and technicians, and they would come for their weekly pay. And they would really look after them. So we've seen that we've had no doctors, as they're saying, mechanical engineers, with bankers. We've seen so many of these children flourish. And we certainly, you know, revel in the goodwill that we now enjoy. And, you know, how the respect that is given. But the beneficiary has been us, our character, our personality, that we have grown. We are in this position because we love people. Our work means that we must work with people. We must respect them. We must encourage them to be leaders in their own respect, to take responsibility for their own action. And it has been a wonderful journey to see some of these young people evolve.
Wonderful. This marriage was divine intervention.
Indeed.
So this takes us nicely, Custodes, into section 2. Vision for St. Anne. Can you please provide us with an overview of your vision for this beautiful parish and how you have been fostering support to make this a reality through your roles in the St. Anne Homecoming Association, the Chamber of Commerce, and other groups and associations. I know Custodes Walters, you're just coming from a meeting that is parish related, even as we speak.
My vision for St. Anne is to see that St. Anne become a self-sufficient parish. However, the government have to play some role into doing that. For a number of years, we've been talking about making councils, parish councils, self-sufficient, where they have the full autonomy. We've spent a number of years on it, I've sat on a number of committees, and we go so far, and then start again from scratch. But I believe that is going to be, not only for St. Anne, but for rural areas, if the councils become self-sufficient. The mayor should be in charge of this council and with its councils and so on. The councillors are the ones who speak to the people. And so when they come to council meeting, they know the needs of their area. I can't see a minister of local government, really, doing all the little things. A minister of local government shouldn't come to open a market and to open an infirmary and things like that. It should be the mayor and the councillors. So what I would say is that different parishes have different wealth.
Yes.
So this idea of paying a contribution, revenue that is collected in a parish, is spent back in the parish, with a certain amount taken away as a buffer for some other parishes that is not as affluent as the other parishes. So you know, you can have an even mix. That is the way I would like to see St. Anne grow. And the country, as a matter of fact, everything can be in Kingston. You have to develop the rural parts. But what is happening, students graduate from college, from university, they don't come back to the area because the challenges is not there. They are going to Kingston or some place like that. But with the towards industry, with the bauxite and all that sort of thing, if we really invest some of it back in the country, then we will, you know, the whole country will move. I believe that we want to be more scientific. We don't do enough research. We have been doing bauxite for so many years. We should know everything about bauxite. I think when we have the bauxite levy, it was a good chance for us to invest back some of the bauxite money in research. Yeah. We missed that goal. So I think that's the way the country have to go, but I think we can start with St. Anne.
Brilliant. I feel like you're reading my thesis because I did my thesis on governance and public debt or fiscal management, and those are some of the recommendations made in that thesis. It's in the West Indies collection at the University of the West Indies. The importance of local government and recognizing the contribution in the parish and ensuring that the building of the community comes from the contribution in the parish. Thank you.
But now, before we go there, did you make a contribution to the parish library?
I have not.
You need to. This is the chairman of the parish library.
Thank you.
So we're happy to have the input of as many citizens as possible. You know, and as you have said, that we look at the government structure and what we want to see. I would like to see it compartmentalized. As we said, every parish has its strong points. St. Anne is even awesomely more beautiful. We have the coast, we have the topography of the mountains, we have rivers. There's so much, and this is why I was saying to you earlier, part of our structure for me would be tourism, which as it is now in Ontario. You don't want to kill the goose, so you don't overdo it. But look at what has happened to us during the pandemic. Ontario is actually closed. St. Anne's Bay, that we were not seeing the glam and the glitter, is open because we're servicing our citizens. And we've always said, one of our mantra has been that your citizens must be as equally treated as your tourists. We are the persons who are going to make it happen. And Jamaica has a wonderful name for public relations, for liking of persons, for being comfortable, you know, and look at the international scene. You know, we have the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, we have the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley. Now we can claim partially Miss Kamala Harris. Yes. You can't change that, whatever the relationship now. And we're saying, you know, going west, we would have St. Anne's Bay. That is the historic town. For me as well, heritage tourism would be a part of the St. Anne's Bay show-off. And I want to commend the Honorable Babsy Grange, Minister of Culture and Entertainment, for having done the structure. There's a drawing at the Parish Library, I don't know if you've seen it, as to what they're planning to do with the Marcus Garvey Home. But when we go further west, we've seen the civil property, that's a heritage site, it remains a heritage site. It is going to waste. And we are saying, instead of trying to catch up, and I use the word advisedly, Marcus Garvey's home up at Gully Road, we should have a museum and a virtual replica of the home that could be toured. Listen, Bob Marley's from 9 Miles, and where is the Bob Marley Museum? It's on Hope Road. But what has happened? The citizens who have been here all this time have come with a different vision. Don't understand that the parish is bigger than any one man, any one person. So if we put something on the civil property, it's still St. Anne's Day. It's only a hop, skip, and a jump away. And I think we've really been joking with a beautiful infrastructure. Radcliffe and I have the sentiments of that place because our installation public, as you know, Custodes must have. Both mine and his, 1999, mine was 2014, have been at the civil property that people discover when they come for the first time. So we have the tourism, we have the heritage structure as well, the municipal buildings in the parish capital. Then we move further to the industrial part to do the bauxite. Okay, we need to look at the environment and so on. And we're still on the coast that is so beautiful and the sea. We can go into the hinterlands where we can do some agriculture. And what a peaceful and beautiful and verdant, I mean, there's no other parish more beautiful than St. Anne. With all due respect to my own Custodes. So the parish allows us to be multi-focused and to realize ourselves in many ways. And as Custodes Radcliffe is saying, to lead us eventually to our independence if we will take responsibility. And so when I looked at your World Bank information, for me, the important thing is that we must take responsibility for ourselves as well. That is where it begins. That's where it begins with our children. Yes. Teach them how to understand that circumstances change, but you, if you understand what your sense of self is, your self-esteem, how you're spawned, you know, your family, because it is one family at a time, one person at a time, then we can begin to take responsibility for ourselves. We've been to Prospect, we are co-patrons with the Custodes of St. Mary, and we go to the graduation every year. And children at Prospect leave with their birth certificate, maybe a passport if their parents can afford it. And application is for driver's license, application for TRN, and their NIS and so on. And I'm saying, for us as Jamaicans, it's a part of knowing yourself, knowing your profile. I did not appreciate my name until I saw my birth certificate. That which is the correct order, and so on. And these are so as we go to an ordered society and a structured society, we must begin to speak to our youngsters one at a time, helping their parents to understand your circumstances do not have to define where you reach in life.
Awesome.
Going back on one of the hindrance of the development of the parish is housing. I think we have one of the largest squatting community in St. Anne. And I don't think it's such a hard problem to solve because tourism is one of the growing things in this parish, employ a lot of labor, and so it's labor intensive. I believe every tourism development could counter with it housing development.
I agree.
Because you can say, let us say you're going to employ 200 persons. Now, if you make accommodation for 100, somewhere along the line, because you have the land space, the pit squatters are on it now. And then when they squat on it, they go back next and they block the road and so on. If you come to St. Anne's Gate, and you're from St. Anne, and somebody tell you that the address is Windsor Road, it means from the library straight on all of those persons who live on Windsor property is Windsor Road. Now how can you police that?
That's right.
So we have to look at housing, we have to look at squatting for the parish to develop. Those are two things that we have to look at right now.
Wonderful, thank you. You know, I hope that the ministers of government and the technocrats at the Planning Institute of Jamaica will look back at this interview, because what you have given us, just taking St. Anne as a microcosm of Jamaica, is an image of what diversification in tourism can be and what community development ought to be from a governance perspective. So I thank you so very much for that. This takes us, Custodes, into section 3. Section 3 looks at capitalizing on a legacy of greatness. We're all proud of this beautiful parish of St. Anne, the birthplace of world changers such as the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Robert Bob Marley, and others who have contributed significantly to improving the consciousness of people of all races and classes, increasing the visibility and voice of the people of color in some of the most oppressive societies, and shaping the philosophies and dialogue of millions globally around the need for equal rights and justice. How can we capitalize on these legacies and channel the principles and philosophies they espoused to empower our people and influence those who are genuinely interested in increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion in our respective communities?
One of the opportunities that we've got as custodians, the representative of the government general, but it's also the head of the Justice of the Peace. It's a very serious part of our governance structure and our justice center. And they span every nook and cranny of the parish and every level of the stratum of society. So already, St. Anne is making an impact into greatness. We are just placed in this pivotal position, but we have some of the most awesome personalities and personnel all over performing as teachers, every aspect of it, and mainly why I call especially our teachers, because already pivotally they're in charge of young minds. And so we speak to them, you know, that it's very important that even if you're not a justice piece already, when you are nurturing a young mind, the churches that have their Sunday schools as well, we're saying that through them we have just fed this empowerment. They have St. Anne revels in the fact that here it was that for the first time the Europeans encountered Jamaica. So we take pride in being the first. We're not afraid to be guinea pigs for anything. We revel in leadership because we want to be, as the Mahatma Gandhi said, the change we want to see in the world. And so we are willing to begin for people to use our blueprints. Radcliffe will catch up with me in terms of the sample box size and the sugar and so on that took place here. And here it is at this Justice Center, Dr. Smith. We were the first as well. This Justice Center was the first in the rural parish, where we're doing restorative justice, we're doing child diversion, we're doing mediation. And for me, being an extension of the JP is the mentorship. And mentorship is not just of young persons. We mentor each other as peers. We've been doing a lot of training as JPs. JPs are creatures of stature, so we have to certain laws. We have to know we preside over the courts, as you know, especially the lay magistrate courts, and we have 4 in this parish. We have 2 children's courts. The children's courts are not convened legally without a justice of peace. And up to this week I was speaking to a JP who was so impressed with how the judges incorporate their thinking, right, especially when we have to deal with the youth. And an important part of the new Child Diversion Act is to try to take the children out of the strict court system. Because we're saying that young people will be prankish, it's a part of being a youth, but they should not be penalized for life for having made one mistake. So they're brought to Justice Center, the panel situation, there's a parish panel, and try to unravel tensions in the society, so to speak. And so St. Anne knows its pivotal position. And the citizens we've got here, we are very pleased that when persons come from out of parish, they claim St. Anne and they do not want to leave. And so we have felt how important it is for us to lead, to keep a standard of excellence, and we certainly don't take it for granted. So we're happy for this interview. Thank you.
I want to think that we have to go back to civic sense. People have to know about their home, where they're coming from, and their parish and so on. As far as we are concerned in St. Anne, we have come to realize that sun and sea is not the only thing for tourism. There are a lot of people who are coming here for culture. and so they'll visit Bagmore, Center, thing like that. Along with homecoming at the St. Anne Parish Library, we have established a Marcus Garvey reading room for Marcus Garvey Center at the Parish Library. So when our visitors come, they want to come and visit that and take pictures and so on. The problem there is to keep surroundings of the library clean and keep out the goats and things like that. This again, you have to talk civics in school to let the children know that they have a responsibility for the surrounding. You have to be responsible. You get these things, but you must be responsible for it. So the library is there. We've got some help from some of our citizens from St. Anne, and you know we have St. Anne homecoming. We're inviting all the people from St. Anne, whenever it's possible, come back to St. Anne. We have a banquet every year. We haven't been able to do it this year because of COVID. So you come back, go back to your little primary school that you're from. That's where it started, so go back. A lot of people talk about their high school. A number of them, when they speak about the high school, they start from high school, from the old times or here or whatever you want to call it now. But they don't talk about from the little school under the tree. So you must start back from there, go back there. If you are prosperous, go back and tell your community that you can be whatever you want to be. And that is what we want, and that's what we encourage citizens of St. Anne to come back. Get in touch with the St. Anne homecoming, play your part, and we'll be happy to have it.
I'm inspired!
I just want to let you know that we are giving a scholarship. We started last year, and we are definitely focused on Marcus Garvey Technical High School. They have the name of our national hero, and the scholarship for the St. Anne Homecoming and Heritage Foundation goes to that school.
Wonderful.
So we're in our second year, and we will keep the person right up until grade 11.
I'm inspired. Thank you, Custodes. I'm inspired, and I want to reiterate, persons who are from St. Anne, whether you're engrafted into St. Anne or you're born St. Anneans, we're calling on you to help us to rebuild our beautiful garden parish. This takes us into the final segment, segment 4, summary of interview and advice for leaders. Custodes, this segment seeks to summarize your expertise and recommendations for leaders on how they can contribute to community development with particular focus on governance that you've covered, entrepreneurship that you've covered, and social interventions that you have covered. What would you say are our parish's greatest assets, our parish's greatest opportunities, our parish's greatest comparative advantages and strengths that can be harnessed to achieve sustainable community development in terms of economic, social, academic, infrastructural, health, medical, environmental, and citizen empowerment?
Well, St. Anne has one of the most structured rural facilities for education. As you know, Brownstone in particular has been known as the impactful center. And it's amazing, although we're a full parish, that we have areas of excellence as well. That means that we have a standard that others can get up to. We've always been there, the Young Castle, the St. Hilda's, they're about 140 years, and Discovery Bay all age, we've seen the impact. And for me, therefore, civics is not just alone in the schools, though they make an impact. But we, as I was saying, we need for parents to be accountable. That is I think is our strength for greatness, because it begins as a child. And how we must learn to value our youngsters so that they have good experiences. I get very personal about this because when I look back on my own journey, as I said earlier, it is because of the love of the nurturing. It was not money. It is how you made me feel. My father was a single parent at the outset. My mother having died at 6. He didn't really marry. He devoted his life to us. But he never made us feel guilty. He reveled in what was our success. They weren't always great academically, but we were never put down. We were always encouraged to go for excellence. We have a wonderful family network, certainly with both sides, but I make sure that I keep in touch with my nieces and nephews, because I've said the legacy has been too strong for us not to understand on which we stand. My aunts went to high school in Spanish Town Cathedral High School, and that was from the 1920s. My mother was a nurse, so you know there's a lot of emphasis on education. And I think we are seeing the light of that now, where parents don't understand, fathers don't understand their own role, that we must ensure that we nurture our children. Part of being great, part of keeping our institutions great. I've said the persons who complain we don't have enough just to be peaceful. We said, if you look at your passport, you will see how many other persons can be certifying officers. We have other judiciary work. One of my father's strengths, going to the parent-teachers meeting. You learn who is mentoring my child, and they know what is the support that's coming from the home. Humble, simple. I know Radcliffe's mom. That was her strength as well. And now we revere teachers in the day because we know the impact. Life is not about the physical. It's about the mental. It's what you have absorbed, and it's a journey. So it doesn't matter how young you are or old. It's never too late for us to take charge of excellence and good standards. And so I've said, don't worry about what your neighbor's doing. It's something we grew up with. These are the things, Collette, that we grew up with. Don't worry about how much money they have next door. When they close their door, you don't know what they're doing. Concentrate on who you are. Be a good neighbor and wish everybody well. You know, for myself, certainly, I don't have an ounce of malice. I don't have the time. Because I think when you spend your time wondering about what other people are doing or trying to waste time to stand in their way, you're wasting your own time and your own talent. Encourage them. There's space for them. Just the other day I shared another mantra with another just a piece. Somebody once pointed out to me, I was very young, look up in the sky, look at the galaxy. They said there's no star before the other. Your space is always there. Find it. It is your space. And don't worry about what you're doing now or what the other person is doing. You're on a journey. You don't know if you want to go for that position, you don't know when you will get it. It might just be yours, but make sure you build it. So if and when you do get that position, you will have gotten something that's strong and not something that you just spend your time destroying. So look for the best in people and encourage them to go for the goal, to sit down to my alma mater. And so these are the things that we imbibed, these are things that we learned, and I give God thanks for the journey so far.
What I would say to my fellow Centennian is to now look inside the parish, what we have, and to build on it. Because as mentioned, Brownsville Community College. Brownsville Community College started with Mr. Whiteman as Minister of Education, and it has grown, and it has a number of firsts. Mr. Walsh, James Walsh, when he was there as principal, we extend the industrial part of it, take over some of the offices of Kaiser, and so on. And what was able to accomplish, that you have trained drivers going to Canada to drive trailers. And a lot of them making good living from it here. Because when they came down here and started, all the drivers we had here, they had to go. And then Mr. Walsh along with his Kenyan, no, you can't take away all the training that you have. So you have to train some. So they got in touch with Reynolds, and they had a training school up there to train trailer drivers to go to Canada. So now we can build on those things. The thing is right here is just for us to build on it and get the parish moving. And you said something about entrepreneurship too. Again in St. Anne, if you come back, we have a number of entrepreneurs here. We started simply. I will just pick out Mr. Shan, who started out as a service station operator, and is now one of the biggest businessmen in St. Anne. So come back, go on and move on. In terms of community, we have service clubs, we have a Rotary Club, we have a number of Kiwanis clubs, interviewee. So we have all the service clubs in St. Anne. We get in touch with them and start them where you can start in the schools. There's where it must start. We can like Marcus or start a Kiwanis club, start a Rotary Club, and get the kids involved from there in the community work. Through the churches, they have some excellent churches here. They can start with their Sunday school and start to teach them from there how to become part of the community. The thing is to give back to your community. So don't think you have to go to Kingston or elsewhere. You can accomplish it here right in St. Anne, or you can build and then go on.
Excellent. And my daughter here, Amori, was also a member of the Key Club. High school, so there is another channel for the children to begin. That's wonderful. Custodes, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are deeply grateful for the sacrifice and the commitment you and your family members have made to serve this beautiful garden parish in such a selfless manner. We are proud as St. Annians to identify with you as our custodes and to look forward to going forward with you as we look to develop this parish to become the #1 parish in Jamaica. May God bless your family, your team, our viewers, our ministers of government, members of the opposition, and all our viewers wherever in the world they are. You have provided today a blueprint, not just for governance, but for entrepreneurship, for building a family life, and for building stronger communities as we look at rising above this global pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
A pleasure. Good to see you come back. We've sent Anna push.
Good to be home. It is good to be home, and I'm trying to encourage other St. Annians to come back home.
Good thing to get the message out and to get them to come back and hear the parish that it's not all gone. It's here and it's growing.
Yes, and I'm proud to be a St. Annian and proud to be back home.
And then good young people who have chosen to come back home.
Wonderful.
Yes, surveyor, doctor, lawyer, they chose to come back to the rural parish because the attraction of Kingston is heavy.
Yes.
Right, for additional education and so on. But the thing is that when they are finished, can you find a place in your own home?
Yes.
So that expatriates don't mind out.
That's right. That's right. And I'm going to be doing a vlog of St. Anne. So I'm sure that St. Annians will see different areas. In every crisis there is an opportunity. So it's an opportunity to come back as Jamaicans to rebuild. Together we rise stronger.
To travel, but I want somebody with some vision coming and look at it and take it from there.
Thank you. Thank you.